Okay, I think it's about time we do Higher Logic Thrive. Higher Logic Thrive often gets filed under one heading, an association platform. And that heading is kind of true, but it definitely undersells the product. Thrive is the one platform in this whole series that tries to be the whole stack in one place. It brings community, email marketing, AI, learning, and events all together, all switched on from one admin and often run by a very small team. That ambition is what it does well, but it's also the trade that you need to make. And in this episode, I'll run it through the same 9 capability scorecard I've used in all the episodes so far, so you can compare it like to like with different platforms. Higher Logic sells 2 community platforms, and buyers can easily mix them up. There's Higher Logic Vanilla, which I reviewed early in the series. This is more of a traditional forum built for support and heavy moderation. And then there's Higher Logic Thrive, the product I'm reviewing here, an all-in-one engagement suite that links towards members having ongoing conversations with other members. It's the same company, but 2 very different products. If you're leaving Khoros and Higher Logic is on your list, the first thing to get straight about is which of the 2 you actually need to consider. Their reputation is for associations, and associations is a really great strength for them. But Thrive's recent biggest deployments are probably corporate, not associations. I know IBM run a very large public community on it. There's HPE, there's Aruba Airheads, there's HealthStream, there's Pragmatic. Some of them moved over from Vanilla, and Higher Logic's own account of why is telling. Vanilla was too much to run, where Thrive can be managed and moderated, often by one person. And there's a design choice underneath all of this, and it's the sharpest way to tell the 2 products apart. Vanilla, like most platforms in the series, opens into a forum. That means categories and threads and then posts. Thrive opens onto a wall. That means when you log in, the first thing you see is typically a personalized feed built from the groups you've joined, with your profile and your points beside it. It's called My Activity Feed. And Higher Logic are very deliberate about this. They're not chasing the attention economy. They're surfacing the latest from groups to bring people back daily. The content still lives in communities underneath, each with its own discussions, libraries, and members, but the front door is the wall, not a directory or forum. And that design choice is the real line between the 2 products. It isn't associations against corporate, at least not really anymore. It's whether you're building a community that lives on questions and answers, or one that people visit every day to see what's new. The second kind is where Thrive thrives. It's built for the daily visit and for volume and for everything that keeping people coming back entails. That's a critical choice you have to make before you pick a platform, and it explains most of the scorecard. Because Thrive is strong everywhere daily engagement lives, and softer where that traditional question and answer forum is strongest. History goes back further than a lot of people realize. Higher Logic was founded in 2007 out of the association world, when the CIO of a risk management society wanted better tools to engage with members. And for close to 2 decades, it's been the dominant platform in the association space. And it grew up by buying up the pieces around the community. A run of email and marketing companies informs among them, which is why marketing automation is so important and so native to the platform versus just a bolt-on. Vanilla, by comparison, only joined in 2021. Thrive is a brand that pulls everything into one suite. The knock until recently was the backend. This is close to a 20-year-old platform, and it really felt its age in the past. Had an older engine under a community that kept getting new features piled on top. And I've said the same about this for years. But that's changed now. They launched Thrive Core at their Superform event, which adds the AI tuning, official responses, and a task system I'll come to in a second. And they're rolling out a new single admin experience over the next 6 to 7 months to replace the old portal. The thing that used to be the weakness, that back end, is now the thing that's moved the most. So let's start with the most forward-looking capability, AI. I score it a 7, and it's a 7 on the breadth of search, not on agents that take actions. Here's what's actually in the back end. There's a member-facing assistant, Floyd, as they call it, that answers from your own community content and cites where each answer came from. It searches across discussions, a library, events, and courses in one place, and it can crawl approved external sites you connect, and when it isn't confident, it doesn't guess. Ask it something that has no source material for, and instead of inventing an answer, it tells you so and points you back to the community to ask a human. And on the admin side, you can opt each AI feature on and off. You can build custom search agents with their own instructions, and you can have several already running scoped to a topic, an event, even a French language one. You can deploy an assistant onto an external website with the external chat builder. You can have hard-coded official answers to common questions and see a missing request view of the questions nobody has answered. The recent tuning is the best part. In advanced AI settings, you can set a confidence threshold. So if the AI isn't sure enough it has the right answer, it will say so, rather than inventing an answer. And you can weight the results by recency, so old posts stop resurfacing as current advice. And you can weight them by source, turning specific content types up or down. That's the control most RAG search doesn't give you. And it's the exact problem, stale answers, that sinks a lot of community AI. So what keeps this as a 7 rather than an 8 is the ceiling on what the AI does. At the time of recording, there's no MCP yet, so you can't drive the platform through an outside AI agent the way you can with vanilla, Discourse, or Gainsight. The agents search and answer. They don't take moderation or content actions. And there's no AI moderation agent or sentiment analysis, which is the same gap I'll come to on the moderation side. So the search is well ahead of most of the market. The agentic side probably isn't there yet. The next one isn't one of the 9 capabilities, but it's a single reason people pick Thrive, so it gets its own slide. Thrive has a full marketing automation system sitting inside the community, in the same admin, on the same data. It's their Thrive marketing product, built on Informs, and it ships pre-built smart campaigns for exactly the jobs a community manager needs. Things like onboarding, profile completion, and re-engaging lapsed members. Take that last one, for example. You can re-engage everyone who signed up more than 90 days ago and never came back. On most platforms, that's the whole project. You brief your marketing team, they build it in HubSpot or Salesforce, whatever CRM you're using. They pull the community data across, they write the messages, and then you wait your turn behind the new sales campaigns. In Thrive, it's a smart campaign that triggers on inactivity. You switch it on, and that's it. That matters most for customer success and education teams who own onboarding, product updates, and the learning journey, and who don't want to queue behind a marketing department chasing prospects. It's a capability I'd point to if someone asks what Thrive does that others can't easily match. But the downside of this is that it's another system to learn and run. And marketing automation done badly is just more emails that nobody opens. The tool being there doesn't necessarily make the campaigns look good. Let's move on to content and knowledge. This scores a 7, and it earns it by covering more content types than most platforms in this series. There are a couple of things that it does well. Things like per community libraries and document sharing, member blogs and video, and content pages you build in the CMS. Blogs are used well on the best communities as a way to broadcast something that doesn't need a reply, which keeps the discussions for the actual conversation. And on top of that, there's Thrive Learn, the LMS, which puts real courses, learning paths, and continuing education credits inside the community. Most platforms in this series lost a point on the content for the same reason. They don't do courses, but Thrive does. What's missing here isn't a big deal, but it is probably worth mentioning. This is a broad library. It's not a structured version knowledge base, not one with approval workflows, and the LMS comes through a learning partner rather than being native. So the breadth is real, and the depth in any single content type is good rather than best in class. Let's move on to events. Event scores a very solid 7. And this is the one that actually did surprise me because most platforms in this series do a terrible job with events. The events admin is a proper admin tool. You get more than 10 pre-built event types from a single meeting or webinar all the way up to a multi-day annual conference with multiple tracks and sessions. There's paid registrations, discount code, registrant classes, presenter roles, and payment providers built in. There's a native calendar as well. And there's a dedicated mobile events app for the in-person side with session check-ins, badge QR scanning, exhibitor lead scanning, and session polling as well. You can even collect conference abstracts and run them through a submissions and review workflow. That's a real conference management tool, not an RSVP bolted onto a forum. What's missing probably keeps it off the top of the table. Bevy and Gradual are built around events and go deeper on virtual and hybrid production. Some of Thrive's strongest event features lean on the mobile app and the submissions module, which are their own pieces. But for an organization that runs real events, and almost all associations do, this is a serious tool, and it's a long way ahead of where I would have scored it a year ago. So mobile. Mobile scores a 7, and I want to flag this one directly because in this series, it's a little bit unusual. Most enterprise community platforms have no mobile app at all. I think Vanilla is a 3, Gainsight has scored a 3. They're responsive web and pretty much nothing else. Thrive has a properly branded native app on both the Apple and Google stores, where you can set your own colors, community name, covering community events, push notifications, learning surveys, job boards, gamification, and there's a separate events app built on top of that for conferences. The downside is that the app is powered by a partner, Results Direct, and the deeper white labeling sits on the paid mobile 365 tier, rather than coming free with every plan. So it's a real native app with a real cost attached, not a fully native first experience like, say, Mighty Networks or Hybrid. But if a mobile app matters to you, and for an events-heavy or member association community it really often does, Thrive is one of the few platforms here that actually has one. Now gamification. Gamification scores a 7. And it's deeper than the standard points and badges box tick exercises that are out there. Out of the box, there are 46 ribbons and badges, and behind them an automation rules engine that drives a contributor point system with tiered progression, bronze up to gold. And the points come from across the platform. Blog posts, course completions, thread engagements, best answers, not just raw posting and answers. And members get an automated message the moment they earn a badge. On the front end, you can see the ranks and titles on member cards and live leaderboards. It's tied to contribution and recognition rather than just vanity activity, which is the version of gamification that really does something. Two capabilities sit in the middle, both of these on a 6. Discussions and Q&A scores a 6. It's a clean, functional, threaded form with categories, tags, hashtags, and related content linking. And Q&A does support accepted answers. What holds it at a 6 is that the Q&A isn't a distinct purpose-built content type the way it is on, say, Vanilla or Discourse. And it's missing that modern forum polish. Things like deep threading, read position tracking, code blocks, wiki mode. It gets a job done, but it's not the reason you choose the platform. Ideation also scores a 6. In the back end, it's a proper module with a status workflow, categories, and its own reports. And members can submit and vote and watch ideas as they move towards the roadmap. What keeps it from the top tier is what Gainsight has and this doesn't. The ability to weight ideas by the revenue of the accounts asking, and there's no built-in link out to product tools like Jira or Product Board. Motivation scores a 5. And it really is potentially the one real soft spot here. What there is solid and standard. It has a review queue, watchwords for a ban list, flood control that throttles someone posting too fast, and pre-built moderation for first-time contributors. The automation rules engine can trigger moderation actions too, so the basics are definitely covered. What's missing is that modern layer. There's no AI classification doing a first pass of incoming posts, no sentiment analysis, and no trust levels that auto-promote reliable members to reduce the load. The thing about this though is that if that's what you want, then Vanilla is the stronger moderation product, because Vanilla is built for these kind of things. It's built for support and sentiment heavy communities, and Thrive is built for members talking to members, where you need a lot less of this. Next, analytics. Analytics scores a 7. When you open the admin, the landing page is a set of dashboards. It has community, benchmarks, discussions, users, and events, and covering the most liked content, membership by community, and joining and leaving trends. Ideation events have their own reports, the smart newsletter has its own analytics, and there's a benchmark view that compares you against a wider set. What's potentially missing here is that build your own dashboard tool, the kind that Vanilla offers, and the strongest version of Thrive's reporting, the engagement scoring and signals, gets better the more you feed it from your association management or CRM data. On its own, it's definitely a solid reporting suite. But there's also something that isn't covered in the 9 capabilities today. And it's a question I'm asking a lot of vendors at the moment, which is how far can a non-developer shape this? And Thrive actually goes a long way here. Every page in Thrive is built in a drag and drop editor with a large widget library, and you can drop in your own HTML, JavaScript, or images if you need to. You can spin up microsites and spaces with their own URL, navigation, and color scheming sitting under the main community, so a product line or chapter feels like its own place. And you can personalize any widget by audience, so the same page shows one thing to a logged out visitor, and another thing to a member, and another thing to an MVP. And perhaps a negative worth naming here is configuration flexibility. There is configuration flexibility, but not code level flexibility. There's no MCP yet. The platform underneath is opinionated. If your plan is to build something completely bespoke, an open source platform like Discourse probably gives you a lot more room. Thrive's whole pitch is that you can give up that last mile of control to get a product that's very fast to stand up and very hard to break. So here's a whole scorecard in one place. There's lots of places where High Logic Thrive gets a 7 on AI, content, events, mobile, and gamification. And then there's a couple of places where it gets a 6 and a little bit lower, and maybe one low score in moderation, which we rate as a 5. The thing about High Logic Thrive is there's no single peak. There's no 8 or 9 here, and that's kind of the point. What Thrive does well is that it's a breadth play. It's not a specialist. It's the widest all-in-one product here, good at almost everything, rather than the best at any one specific thing. It's strong nearly everywhere, with one real gap, but that real gap it points clients to Vanilla for. On the corporate side, as we mentioned before, they've got IBM, HealthStream, Pragmatic, and other large organizations. And on the association side, they've got one of the deepest installed bases in the sector. And the management system integrations are a big reason those members stay. You can walk through several of these right now and see the product in the wild. Ultimately, buy Higher Logic Thrive if you want breadth out of the box. Community and marketing and AI and learning and events all in one system. And you'd rather switch capabilities on than build and integrate them. It's a very strong fit if you run a small team or close to no team, because it's designed to be run that way. And it's a natural home for associations and member organizations where the management system integration and the all-in-one model line up with exactly how you already work. And you should look elsewhere if moderation is the center of your community, where maybe Vanilla, Gainsight, or Discourse is a much better fit. You maybe also want to look elsewhere too if you want to do more customization or do more bespoke code level changes. And if virtual events are the point, then maybe Bevy and Gradual go deeper as well. The thing to weigh isn't a feature. The all-in-one model cuts both ways. If you want one system that does most things well and can be run lean, that breadth is exactly the appeal. If you want the best-in-class tool for one specific job, then Thrive is probably not the right option. Thrive is the generalist that's good at most things, not the specialist that's best at one. So, commercials. High Logic doesn't publish the prices, so you'd be talking to the sales team for a real number. As a rough shape, from what we know, Thrive tends to land somewhere between $20,000 and way up to $100,000 a year, driven by the modules that you switch on and the size of your community. The all-in-one pieces, the marketing automation, the LMS, the mobile app, are the parts most likely to move that number. Scope what you actually have to use before you buy the full suite. And that's High Logic Thrive. Not the narrow association platform its reputation suggests, but possibly the widest all-in-one product in this series, with community, marketing, AI, learning, and events in one place. If you'd rather switch things on than build them, HighLogic Thrive definitely belongs on your list. And if you want help migrating your community or selecting the right platform, you can reach out to me, richard@feverbee.com. See you in the next video.